Now let's talk about the pandemic. It killed 6.8 million people the world over. But is it over yet? That question is still being debated. But if there were any doubts, still any doubts about how it began, they're clearing up one report at a time. Here's the latest one. It says the Wuhan virus came from a lab leak in China. This is the finding of the US Energy Department. It has been shared with the White House. And this conclusion, we are told, is based on new intelligence. And let me tell you this, why this is extremely important. Because the US Energy Department is part of the US intelligence community. This is a community of 18 agencies. And they have strict instructions from President Joe Biden. Their task is to find out where COVID-19 came from. The Energy Department has submitted its report. It's also significant because it has considerable scientific expertise. This department operates laboratories across the United States. Some of them even conduct advanced biological research. And this is not the first American agency to say that it was a lab leak. Do you know which other agency had the same conclusion? The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI. The FBI has been talking about a lab leak since 2021, and now the Energy Department has said the same. Here's how U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan reacted to the news.
The reference to the Department of Energy, President Biden specifically requested that the national labs, which are part of the Department of Energy, be brought into this assessment because he wants to put every tool at use to be able to figure out what happened here. And if we gain any further insider information, we will share it with Congress and we will share it with the American people. But right now, there is not a definitive answer that has emerged from the intelligence community on this question.
That makes one thing pretty clear. The US government has given clear instructions to the intelligence community to find the origins of the pandemic. And one more report pointing at China makes for good optics. It gives weight to the lab leak theory. It puts China in a spot. But then again, China has been in a spot for a long time. Just like the world has learned to live with the virus, China has learned to live with the fact that many around the world blame it for the pandemic. 6.8 million people are dead. I'll keep repeating this number, 6.8 million, because someone needs to take responsibility for all these deaths. 2 American agencies say the virus came from a Chinese lab. What will the US do about it? Let's say more agencies conclude the same. Let's say we have conclusive proof that China was behind this. What will the world do about it? Does the world have a plan to make China pay? Because last we checked, the French president wanted to visit Xi Jinping to discuss his peace plan. It seems in the shifting priorities of geopolitics, the victims of this pandemic have already been forgotten. Also because punishing China would be a costly proposition, as costly as suffering at the hands of China. Beijing is not mincing words on how it will retaliate. Listen to this now.
We once again urge the United States not to politicize the whole issue. I would say scapegoating China cannot whitewash the US. If the United States persists in hyping up the lab leak theory, then they should set an example and invite the WHO to investigate the Fort Detrick and the University of North Carolina.
This statement is from 2021. The speaker was Fu Kong. He was the head of the Chinese Foreign Ministry's Arms Control Department then. Now he's China's ambassador to the European Union. China has scotched investigations into the origins of the virus. It has stonewalled all efforts of the World Health Organization, and so far the world has offered little beyond rhetoric. In the weeks and months ahead, we'll see more of it from America. They're gearing up for presidential elections next year, and China will feel the heat because no American leader today can afford to appear soft on China. Vivek Ramaswamy is in the race for the White House. He's the second Indian American to join the fray. It's a very long shot, but he too is promising to punish China.
I'm committing to deliver accountability for the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic. Anything else is not an option, or we can expect even worse from the CCP in the future. And you mark my words, I think we need to use every financial lever in our arsenal to do it. As your president, I commit to doing that, including, but not limited to, even looking at the national debt of the U.S. that they hold as an option.
Then we have Nikki Haley. The other Indian American in the race, she says she will ensure that not even a cent is paid to the enemies of the United States in aid, enemies like China and Pakistan. So grand promises and hard-hitting reports on the lab leak. But don't expect any action against China just yet.